I love downtown Tampa's traffic. Not. I've been sitting here in stop and go for the last half an hour. Anyways, so I want to make a quick video. I already did one take of this and I had to take it out because there was so many inappropriate things that I said that I was like, there's no way I can post this. But I've been thinking the last couple days about sexual orientation and identity and I guess gay relationships and how gay guys interact with the male population at large, I guess. A few thoughts. I was watching United States of Tara, and Lionel and Moosh are kind of officially together now, which is really cute. And Lionel asked Moosh, are we together because we love each other or because we're in, small town America and we don't have many choices? And Moosh was like, it's probably both. And then there was a study that came out this week. It was talking about the number of gays in America. I think they said 3%, I think is what they said. Estimates vary. There's difference between measuring how people identify and what categories their behavior most lines up to. Because there are, and this may come as a shock to people, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you've been exposed to the real world and 21st century sexuality, but there are a bunch of people who identify as straight who have sex with people of both gender. There are guys who identify as straight but are really into transsexuals, and this isn't, hopefully isn't like shock or conscious, but I mean there are people out there who have identify one way and their behavior and their desires are another way. It's just kind of the way of the world. And part of the problem is that a lot of times we don't have social acceptance, but a lot of times it's, desires aren't easy to put into categories. It's not easy for people to identify as, hey, that's kind of the box I go into. And I think, I almost feel worse for bisexuals than I do for gays because it's, like, I feel like in the LGBT community, the L and the G are pretty well established. I feel like, we're not often having to fight for, to assert, like, no, this is real, this is who I am. I feel like a lot of times bisexuals have to kind of, there's this, oh, but I thought you were into dudes, but you're into girls, or you're into both? I don't understand. And a lot of times it's kind of, especially gets interesting when you're around bisexuals who are mostly one way, but still a little bit the other way. Like, guys that are mostly into guys and still into girls, or mostly into girls, but there's a couple of guys that really do it for them. And I feel like a lot of times they get even more shit than gays and lesbians do because it's harder. I mean, it's pretty easy to put your finger on being gay or lesbian. It's like, I'm into only people of the same sex and or gender, but not so with bisexuals. It's more amorphous. And then, transsexuals, it's like, okay, you identify your gender as one way, but your sex organs are another way. Are you having surgery, top and bottom surgery? There's a whole bunch of like gray area there that I'm just like, it's hard enough being an adopted gay minority, but I'm glad I have my sexual identity down. Like, I'm not conflicted. I was born a man, I am a man, I have no desire to change. But I just can't even imagine, and there are a bunch of movies and studies and documentaries about people who are transsexual and, just the awful pain that causes. But I was thinking about, how... What was I thinking about? I don't know how to explain it. I was thinking about the number of... I guess when you're gay... Okay, when you're gay, you only have a certain small subset of the gender that you're attracted to that you can actually have a chance to be with. I was thinking about, well, if only 5% of the male population is gay, then that means that as one of those 5%, the sex and gender that I'm attracted to most likely isn't going to be available for me. You know, if there were 100 guys in a room, I would only, like, conceivably be able to, you know, date or be with or sleep with 5%. Whereas if you're a guy, if you're a straight guy, and you go out and you're like, oh, there's a girl, there's like a 95% chance that she's going to at least be compatible with your gender and your sex. And it just got me thinking, because, you know, there's this whole there are a lot of guys who aren't out. There are a lot of guys who, you know, I was laughing with friends. I was asked, you know, and it sounds awful to be like, oh yeah, we were speculating about whether so and so is gay or is he bi, or, you know, is he actually straight, which is how he presents, and, you know, it's not like a gossipy thing, it's not like a mean thing or a cruel thing or I'm trying to be nosy, but I think when you're a gay guy, you want to find out, you know, who is it here that I even have a chance with? Who is it here that I may not be this guy's type, you know, he may not be into men of color. I mean, you never know. I mean, there are so many, it's like that's the first barrier to, you know, oh, this guy's really funny and really attractive, and I'd really like to see, you know, if he'd like to go out to dinner or a movie sometime. And it's like, but I kind of have to find out if he's into guys first, and how do I broach that? I mean, it's a difficult situation, and I don't know why. I guess I know why I was thinking about it, because I was thinking about, you know, I started thinking about my future. I'm a third of the way through with law school almost, which is terrifying. But thinking about, like, my future relationships, I've been single for forever. Why is that? I'm often seemingly attracted to guys that it's questionable. It's like, yeah, you know, he's bi, but he's, you know, blah, 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 or, you know, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, you know, I wish we all had fucking, you know, some kind of wristband that was like color coded, and it was like, okay, I can at least go talk to you and see if you're interested. But it's this landmine. It's like, okay, I've got this person, I consider him a friend or a colleague, and it's like, all right, so what's the protocol here? Because if I start hitting on him and he's straight, this could get really awkward or violent really quickly. And, you know, there's this, I joke with one of my friends pretty exclusively. I'm like, you know, take off your shirt because you're hot. And it's like, yes, I'm attracted to good-looking men, whether they're gay or straight or whatever. But I think there's this, like, homophobic apprehension. It's like, I'm going to jump your bones while you're not paying attention. And it's like, yes, I look at you, I see somebody who's aesthetically pleasing. I'm like, oh, he has a very nice six-pack. Or he has an incredible jawline. Look at him, he should be in Hollywood movies. But because I find you attractive doesn't mean that you have anything to worry about. I'm not into straight guys, at least not since high school. So, you know, there's no need to be worried. But anyways, it was just random thoughts I was thinking about, because I was thinking about, you know, like, dating and, you know, how difficult that is for people in general. But then when you throw being gay on there, and I think part of the issue is that I think it's especially, I think it's easier for women. You know, if any study you ever look at, the number of people who, you usually get vastly more women who identify as bisexual, vastly more women who say that they, you know, have had or would consider having a sexual experience with a person of the same gender, although they may identify as straight. I don't think that there are more women who are, open to that, but I think there are more women who are willing to say that they are. There are a bunch of bisexual guys in the closet. I hate to break it to you, but it's true. There are a bunch of people both in Hollywood and around you all the time that are probably attracted to both genders, and for fears of family or career or whatever, they are not out in the open about it, but it happens. So anyways, just random thoughts I'd been thinking. Thought maybe I'd share some thoughts, maybe elicit some feedback. I don't know. Let me know what you think.